Collective impact is a model that describes the commitment of a group of cross-sector actors to a common agenda for solving a complex social problem. And it was first observed and written about by John Kania and Mark Kramer in the Stanford Social Innovation Review in 2011. And since then, it has been used and tried, sometimes discarded, because it really is a model that takes some time to see the full impact, but there are wins along the way. And it's the method that Meet the Need uses, because certainly meeting the need of persons with IDD across the state of North Carolina is complex. If someone had figured it out and it was working well, we wouldn't need a collective impact initiative. Collective impact is intended for complicated and complex problems, like meeting the need of people with disabilities, intellectual and developmental disabilities across the state. And one of the benefits of collective impact over simply agency or organization-specific action is it gets everyone in the room. It gets the self-advocate, family, policymakers, providers, all interested parties in the room with all their disparate voices and concerns. And so in that way, it's one of the most effective models for knocking down silos. And so the other part that makes collective impact particularly beneficial is that it establishes a learning community. It's right from the onset understood that if this problem were easy, someone would have solved it already. And so therefore, we need to learn from each other, hear what has been tried, how it's worked, what hasn't worked, and understand the landscape of all that has been learned, perhaps in the state, across the country, and across the world, that we can incorporate into our understanding of the problem. So it really is a way of closing the door and making sure that everybody's in the room. And then the establishment of 5 core elements, which are these shared vision or common agenda, a backbone agency or organization, mutually reinforcing activities, continuous communication, and shared measurement. These elements combine together, and given patience and time and lots of discussion, can really make a dent in a problem that has been unsolvable up to this point. It's been proven in many projects across the world, and already there is progress in Meet the Need. Achieving large-scale change through collective impact involves 5 key conditions for shared success. The first is a common agenda, sometimes called a shared aspiration or shared vision. All participants have this shared vision for change, including a common understanding of the problem and a joint approach to solving it through agreed-upon actions. Sounds easy, hard to do. But when you get it, it's an incredible compass. There's shared measurement, that's the second one. That's collecting data and measuring results consistently across all participants, ensuring efforts are aligned and participants hold each other accountable, and that you can actually track progress quantitatively as well as qualitatively. The third is mutually reinforcing activities. That's that participant activities must be different while still being coordinated through a mutually reinforcing plan of action and guided by the common agenda. So in the case of Meet the Need, there's a group looking at outreach and education and a group looking at legislation and policy. Those are different processes and they work together because they're coordinated. Continuous communication. That doesn't mean 24/7 like our phones seem to provide us, but consistent and open communication needed across many players to build trust, assure mutual objectives, and appreciate common motivation. And certainly in human relationships, there is always opportunity for growth and improvement. And times that things have to be clarified, and that's been the case for Meet the Need as well. So continuous communication, coming back to the table again and again. Finally, the backbone support. Creating and managing collective impact requires a separate organization. It's not a group of volunteers or just sort of willy-nilly decision who's going to facilitate this meeting. There is a dedicated staff that wakes up thinking about this, and a specific set of skills to serve as the backbone for the entire initiative and coordinate these participating organizations and agencies and people. And the LAND group has been chosen as the backbone and coordinates that for Meet the Need. The backbone organization for a collective impact initiative is so important in terms of setting the tone and providing the way for the group to establish trust and to see itself as a learning community while not abandoning the common agenda that they come up with. So leadership in respect to the backbone is not just a matter of convening meetings or tracking progress. It really is a facilitative process, and facilitators by their very nature do not come across as experts, and yet they're very, very interested and committed to the problem at hand. This is very much the case for LAND and MHTA, which is the backbone organization for Meet the Need. They are deeply committed individuals who present themselves with a great deal of kind of neutrality towards all of the stakeholders, and yet they provide the leadership when people want to sort of splinter into separate groups. I think of a backbone organization. If you think about a backbone and how it really holds the body together, that is what Meet the Need is getting from LAND as well, holding the body of people together and really safeguarding and championing, and when needed, tweaking and changing the shared vision and common agenda as more is learned and times change. So backbone is extremely important to a successful collective impact initiative. How long does collective impact take? Well, it's hard to wait for significant improvement when you've been waiting, and we are in a situation where people with IDD and their families have been waiting for the needs to be met. And so it's hard to be patient, and yet collective impact has been proven to be very effective. But it's a matter of bringing people together and taking the time up front to listen and learn, stay open, and also come to an agreement about the problem itself, which is no easy matter. And finally, creating a common agenda with agreed upon actions to take that will be coordinated and will move you towards the target. Even as you're moving towards the target, you will see opportunities to pick up wins and successes. There's no need to worry about the estimated 7 to 10 years that it takes for true systems change, because progress can happen right away. What progress it is just to bring everybody together in the same room around the same table, like the Knights of the Round Table. We've often used that metaphor in Meet the Need. And so I just want to quote Judy Heumann, whose quote is at the bottom of Beth Fields, the facilitator for Meet the Needs email signature line. Change never happens at the pace we think it should. It happens over years of people joining together, strategizing, sharing, and pulling all the levers they possibly can. Gradually, sometimes excruciatingly slowly, things start to happen, and then suddenly, seemingly out of the blue, something will tip. So Judy was the American with Disability Rights advocate and activist who recently passed. She was considered the mother of the disability rights movement. And I think those are just really appropriate words that fit collective impact so well. What are the key challenges that can derail a collective impact process? Well, as you can imagine, when you've gathered the Knights at the Round Table and they've agreed to a shared vision or a common agenda, it's very important that people stick with it, and that they don't lose patience, and that they keep trust amongst each other. Because in the absence of that, everything can kind of fall apart and everyone goes their own way, and you've lost the power of the unity that's inherent in a collective impact initiative. I've shared a few lessons learned through my years, which are about 8 or 9 of working actually with collective impact and seeing some successes and learning things along the way. So those have to do with staying close to the source, making sure it's not providers or agencies or divisions or departments that are determining what needs to be done and what the needs are, that you're staying with self-advocates and families to actually guide this problem and to inform and to share stories. Providing leadership, but keeping humility. So once we're so sure of ourselves that we're no longer listening or accommodating others' points of view, you're in danger of eroding trust, and you may miss some really important points. Carrying the common agenda wherever you go, it's almost like, I don't know, the Holy Grail or something. It's so important that people are constantly reminded of what you agreed on in terms of a shared vision. So I think if you're not clear on the common agenda, that's also a challenge. It's so important to engage dissenting voices, because if you're not, you have a group that is out there sort of, sabotaging things. And actually, those dissenting voices can be, extremely helpful in shining a light on a blind spot. I believe that long and detailed strategic action plans drain energy. I like to keep action plans short, maybe 6 months. You want to have the long range picture in mind, but keep the action steps close, in a smaller time frame, so that people feel good about what they're accomplishing and don't feel that it's such a long journey that they're never going to get there. It's important to remind people that you are in a learning community, and therefore things change. New information comes, new events occur, and you're going to need to roll with it and possibly tweak some action steps, maybe even tweak the common agenda as time goes on. And then finally, to let go of the need to centralize control. Collective impact done right has a ripple effect, which means that because of what's happening with Meet the Need, there may be an action taken by a small group of individuals or another organization that is informed by the common agenda, and that progress is made, and you don't necessarily need to take ownership for it. You don't have to say, that's because of us. That's very counterintuitive to sort of the cause and effect thought around research. But in the case of collective impact, everybody is a winner in seeing progress. Collective impact is a very effective approach for Meet the Need NC as it's trying to change the IDD landscape across the state. It certainly is a complex issue and requires systems change on various levels. And because there have been so many groups chipping away at this, it's really appropriate that this initiative, Meet the Need, has come forward to really gather all the Knights to the round table, to look at it systemically and to find solutions together around a common agenda that has been created and is really quite effective. It's important that Meet the Need, as it moves forward, continues to believe in its common agenda, tweak it if necessary, but really hold on to it and believe in each other and not lose faith, and to have the patience to see this through, picking up wins along the way. I want to emphasize that. It's not about kind of sitting around putting things in motion and hoping that in 7 to 10 years something has changed. No, things are changing day one, and Meet the Need, with its extraordinary reach across the state in outreach and education and legislative action, all of that it's doing to understand what the stakeholders need across the state, are very effective. And I would say Meet the Need is right on course, if not ahead of other collective impact initiatives that I'm aware of. So keep it going.